When did you realize your mother was destroying your life? I spent my entire 20s believing the universe just wanted me to rent a cramped apartment forever. Perfect credit scores that mysteriously didn't seem to matter when the final paperwork was due. A gorgeous brick townhouse in Capitol Hill that fell through at the final inspection without a single logical explanation from the sellers. Even a long-term boyfriend named David, who was supposed to co-sign a lease with me back in November 2021, suddenly backed out, packed his bags into his Honda, and mumbled something about not being ready for the financial liability. I internalized every single failure. At 31, I finally found my dream place, a sunlit loft overlooking Puget Sound. The inspection passed flawlessly. The earnest money was wired on time, and the closing date was firmly set for Friday the 18th. Then Julian called me at 9:15 am on a Tuesday. He sounded deeply uncomfortable, clearing his throat repeatedly. He mentioned, almost cautiously, that the seller's agent had received a highly confidential hardship letter from my primary emergency contact. Someone had written them a detailed, frantic plea, claiming I was secretly navigating a $65,000 underground gambling debt, that my down payment was fraudulent, and that they should cut ties immediately to avoid a drawn-out legal nightmare. I have never gambled a single day in my life. I had to look up the legal jargon used in the letter just to understand the wild accusations. I asked Julian to forward me the document. I sat in the parking lot of my local gym until my windshield completely fogged over from the cold. I thought about how my mother always demanded the exact address and the listing agent's name every time I toured a property. I used to think she was just being a highly protective parent. It turns out she was gathering targets. The word that kept echoing in my skull was methodical. I texted David that afternoon, breaking a 3-year silence, and asked if anyone had ever warned him about my finances. His reply came at exactly 2:42 p.m. An anonymous family friend, he said. They sent him a fabricated credit report showing I was drowning in defaults, warning him I'd drag him into bankruptcy if we signed that lease. He had been too terrified to confront me. I knew exactly who had the login to my old student loan portal to doctor those specific documents. 2 weeks later was my mother's grand retirement luncheon at the Oak Ridge Country Club. 60 guests, catered salmon dinners, endless speeches about her community selflessness. I walked in right as she was slicing the 3-tier vanilla cake. I didn't scream. I just walked straight up to the head table, pulled the forged hardship letter from my purse, and laid it directly over her slice of cake. The buttercream icing smeared across the fake notary stamp. The chatter in the room instantly died. She stared at the paper, and all the color drained from her cheeks. I have to check on the valet, she stammered, trying to step away. I blocked her path. Who did you send this to? I asked, my voice echoing in the dead silent banquet hall. It's just a massive misunderstanding, she whispered, her eyes darting toward the nearest exit. You sent a fake legal notice to my broker, I said. You killed the Capitol Hill house. You drove David away. She gripped the edge of the table until her knuckles turned bright white. Then, barely audible over the clinking of a single dropped fork, she hissed. You were moving to the west side. You were going to be 40 minutes away. You would have stopped needing me entirely. I didn't cause a scene. I just turned my back on her and walked out of the country club without another word. I drove straight to my sister Elena's house in the suburbs. When I showed her the printed PDF, Elena sat on her porch steps and buried her face in her hands. A long, heavy silence stretched between us as the reality set in. Are you absolutely positive? Elena finally asked, her voice shaking. Because my study abroad program in Milan. I stopped breathing. Elena had won a massive international arts grant in 2018, only for the committee to mysteriously revoke it at the 11th hour, citing undisclosed psychiatric liabilities. We sat on that cold porch until the street lights flickered on. The next morning, we both drove to the bank, removed our mother from every single shared account, and permanently changed our emergency contacts. She had stolen our independence for years, but she would never take another day from us.